I recently spoke to Lesego Mosupye, who's the Chief Risk Officer at the ECIC, on trade and investment risks and initiatives in South Africa and the rest of the continent when it comes to their particular strategy.
I think we're seeing elevated risk levels across the African continent because of where the economy is. And so our role really is to become that insurer of last resort in terms of plugging in or coming in where private sector is unable to provide services, but where entities like ECIC, with the support of government, can help South African businesses.
Having said that, though, at the moment when you look at the continent, which regions probably present heightened risk? And I say this thinking of oil-producing nations in particular, like Nigeria and Angola, and even those from a political perspective, like Burundi, Uganda, which all recently had elections.
Yeah, indeed. I think you're correct. The oil-producing countries, but also we find that because of the deterioration in emerging market currencies, it's now become more expensive for those emerging markets to service their US dollar debt obligations. So overall, the debt levels have gone up. So essentially, from a credit rating perspective, it's reduced. So that creates pressure for those economies and countries, even the local importers, for South African exporters. And therefore, so overall, yes, that is the risk that we see increasing.
If we do talk about this concept of risk and the various headlines regarding some South African companies divesting from some markets on the continent, large multinationals also divesting from the continent overall and other emerging markets, is Africa associated with significant levels of risk? And if so, how do we actually determine what the level of risk appetite is?
I think there's certainly you're right there in terms of the perception of heightened levels of risk. I think there are, even though there's this broader perception, there are areas where developments or potential can be realized in those markets. And therefore, it's about how you then, as a South African exporter, structure your transactions and your business activity to get benefit from the likes of ECIC when you're making those investments in those markets. And I think that is really where the lack or the gap is, in that South African exporters, with limited knowledge of ECIC and its products, are not able to take advantage of that opportunity.
Let's talk further about creating awareness, especially in that fraternity where perhaps the entrepreneurs and leaders of those organizations are bogged down by the day-to-day activities there. With the help and assistance and coverage provided for by the ECIC, what kind of protection does this provide the organizations with as they pursue their growth strategies?
I think our focus is really on the credit risk that they would be facing in those markets. So for an exporter, you want to know that when you sell goods, you would want to be paid. And so our cover is really to make sure that you get paid when you deliver.